What is up, and welcome to the Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silver's 2023 SEC football preview. As always, I am your host, Brandon Silvers. If you're watching on YouTube, we're doing these a team at a time to make the videos less husky and easier to watch. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you are getting the full preview all at once because you have a pause button. Now, you should subscribe to both video and audio by checking the show notes or searching Beyond the Arc with Brandon Silvers so that you don't miss anything, such as the video-only, most entertaining weekly college football pick'em show in the history of the world, Brett's Bets. Speaking of Brett's Bets, I am joined today by the man himself, Brett Gosnell, to help me break down these SEC teams. Brett, let's get into it. The Ole Miss Rebels, 8-5 last year, 4-4 in conference, lost to Texas Tech in the Texas Bowl. Lane Kiffin is back, fourth year here, preseason number 22 in the AP Top 25. Brett, what are we looking for out of Ole Miss this season?
All right, so Vegas has their win total at 7.5. Kind of feels a little low to me, but let's look at what they did last year. So 8-5 overall, like you said. They started out 7-0, however. But if you look at the schedule, it was the easiest schedule that an SEC team has probably ever faced. At the end of the year, things kind of went south, in no small part due to Lane Kiffin flirting with Auburn. That was interesting. We know Lane doesn't stay in the same place very often. Ended up getting himself a big raise to stay at Ole Miss, and also ended up getting the NIL collective at Ole Miss a nice boost, because one of his complaints was that Ole Miss didn't quite have the funds in this new era of college football to compete with the bigger SEC schools. Fans stepped up, started donating more money, and Ole Miss now has a pretty good war chest. So ended up helping the team in the long run, hopefully for them. It certainly hurt them at the end of the year there. So the start with the offense. Lane Kiffin, obviously always known for offense, but last year he did it in a very different way from how he normally does. They were an extremely run-heavy team. I think they had more rushing yards than any Ole Miss team has had since the 50s or something like that. Just crazy stuff. They brought in a 5-star transfer from TCU named Zach Evans. But he was not the star of the show. It was freshman Quinshon Judkins. And he comes back. Zach Evans does not. But they'll be more than set in the running game with probably the best running back in the conference.
Yeah, playing behind one of the best offensive lines as well. But Judkins last year, 1,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, splitting time with Zach Evans.
Yeah.
Real.
Yeah. So quarterback, a lot of fanfare for the guy who transferred in last year, Jackson Dart from Southern Cal. He was a big recruit. He didn't play that well, at least in the passing game last year. We know Lane is the quarterback whisperer. Maybe he can whisper some things for him this year. But last year he didn't throw the ball very well, but he also was a very good runner. So, you know, it was all about the running game last year for Ole Miss. Now, they do bring in some very good transfers. They're bringing in a tight end, bringing in the very good wide receiver from Texas San Antonio. And interestingly, Spencer Sanders, did you know they brought him in as well?
From Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that dude was still – I feel like that dude's been playing forever.
Yeah. I didn't know that until I was doing my research for this. So that's kind of flown under the radar, but he wasn't great, but he was pretty good. So
be better than Dart.
Yeah, very possibly so. So, yeah, the offense, I think the offense is going to be good again. No question about it.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, I guess I'm not really wondering, they're definitely going to have to rely on the run again, you would think. And so I'm curious to see what Judkins' numbers look like.
Yeah, with him being the feature back.
And it behooves him. That's the first time that's ever been used in a college football preview. But to run these numbers up here at Ole Miss, because I bet he can make more at Ole Miss than he could as an NFL running back.
Yeah, maybe. And at least in theory, that's how NIL is legally used with already on campus guys. We know that they recruit with it too. But yeah. um, I hear that's how we have used it most of all with Spencer and Juice Wells coming back. But yeah, offense does look good. I will say though, they're not going to start 7-0 again this year, regardless, because they go to LSU and Bama. I'm pretty sure within September or October.
Yeah, into September, back-to-back weeks, they've got Bama and LSU. So good luck.
So they're as good as the running game is, and as much as they're going to rely on it again, they're going to need to be more two-dimensional to have a chance at a very good year, I would say, with this schedule getting a lot harder.
Yeah, and Lane is the self-proclaimed portal king when it comes to players, but on the other side of the ball, he got someone to come to Ole Miss from Alabama. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so that's a hell of a pull. Pete Golding, who's been the Bama defensive coordinator for I think 5 years. Not the best defensive coordinator in Bama history, but I think he was always within the top 20, so very good. And this isn't a situation where Saban was happy to see the guy go. Saban wanted to keep him, from what I understand. But Pete Golding's wife is an Ole Miss alum. The job opened up, and his wife lobbied for him to take the family back home to Oxford. So that's what he did.
Happy wife, happy Lane. Unless it's Lane's wife, then she's somewhat unhappy. But man, Lane has really grown on me. Like, he's kind of like this kind of snot-nosed, failing upwards type dude, but I like him.
I love him. Aside from our own coach, I think he's probably my favorite coach in college football. Always entertaining. He's the new Spurrier to me. You know, offensive mind, a quarterback guy.
Visor.
Yeah. And yeah. And just always one or two good quotes in every press conference.
Yeah, and he did a great job recently. He let one of his black coaches run a scrimmage as a head coach to kind of give him experience into how that is and how that works, and came out with a statement about how we need to hire more black head coaches and give them different opportunities like this so they can get experience and grow, which is, if you're going to be a nepotism guy like Lane Kiffin, that's how you use your privilege, in my opinion. Reach down, lift someone up like Lane Kiffin. I never thought I would be telling people to be more like Lane Kiffin, but here I am.
Yeah. Well, perhaps another connection to Spurrier. I know Spurrier was at least left of the political center. I don't know how much reaching down and all that kind of stuff he did necessarily, but I do know he is a Democrat.
Which is, people would lose a lot of money betting on that.
Yeah.
I feel like. But speaking of betting, so what do you think Ole Miss does this year?
I mean, we'll have to see with the defense. Probably upgraded at D certainly upgraded at D coordinator, I would say, but they were 75th in total defense last year, so not very good. And as good as the offense was, as good as the running game was, they're going to have to get more multidimensional. I still feel like they have to go over 7-5. If I had to bet on that, I'm saying at least 8 wins, maybe more.
Yeah, it feels like an 8-win team. And kind of in a weird situation where I think they are improved on both ends of the ball, but it doesn't really translate to wins just because they're not playing that schedule they played last season.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
So we've covered it all.